Get ready for some major roster shakeups, because we are diving straight into the Mets situation. We're talking about the Mets needing a new generation of talent, and the key player driving this change is A.J. Ewing. We break down why Ewing is the indispensable center fielder, how his hitting data in Syracuse is fantastic, and why the team absolutely needs him to anchor the lineup moving forward.
Stop using your finger for notes, sketches, and edits. This Jam Jake stylus pen gives your iPad a smoother, more precise writing feel with palm rejection so your hand can rest naturally on the screen. It charges fast, works for hours, and comes with replacement tips. Perfect for school, work, or creative projects. Check the link in the comments to grab it on Amazon.
Next up, we look at the offensive firepower that is under scrutiny. We examine the situation with Carson Benge, focusing on his impressive performance against left-handed pitching and why he needs to be given more opportunities. We'll also see how other players like Melendez can still find their footing and contribute when the lineup is reorganized. Now we shift focus to the infield and the crucial rotation decisions. We're analyzing the indispensable duo of Bo Bichette and Marcus Semien and the evolving situation around Francisco Lindor's return. Plus, we investigate the need for a change in the rotation, spotlighting Jack Wenninger as the high-probability mid-rotation starter the Mets desperately need. Finally, we look at the bigger picture surrounding the Mets' future and the potential trade landscape. We discuss the uncertainty surrounding Bo Bichette's contract and the growing sentiment around David Stearns' job security. Don't miss this deep dive into the future of the Mets, and tell us what you think in the comments below. The New York Mets are facing a critical juncture, with internal analysis suggesting the team, particularly its offense, requires a significant overhaul to embrace a new generation of players. While the pitching staff shows some promise, the offensive struggles are deemed a glaring problem, prompting calls for a roster shakeup. The proposed offensive lineup centers on establishing a core of A.J. Ewing at center field, with Juan Soto positioned in left field, and Carson Benge at right field, all expected to play every day. Ewing, despite a recent AAA promotion, has shown continued hitting prowess, particularly against left-handed pitching. Benge is highlighted for his recent performance against lefties, demonstrating improved hitting metrics, and should be integrated into the everyday lineup. Bench depth will see Tyrone Taylor serving as a valuable fourth outfielder, while M.J. Melendez remains a viable option for DH or left field opportunities when Soto shifts positions. The roster review suggests removing players like Andy Ibanez and Austin Slater, citing poor performance and lack of offensive impact. Slater's age and lack of power are noted concerns, and Ibanez's recent struggles are highlighted. In the infield, Bo Bichette and Marcus Semien are slated for daily action. Bichette is expected to elevate his game, while Semien needs to improve offensively and defensively. The double-play combination of Bichette and Semien should remain the daily pairing until Francisco Lindor's return. For the corners, Brett Baty is identified as the final opportunity for a third base role, while Ryan Clifford is recommended for first base due to his power potential, especially when platooned against left-handed pitching. Mark Vientos is positioned to fill a platoon role at first base against lefties. The pitching rotation is also under scrutiny. The current strategy involving an opener against David Peterson is deemed unsustainable. A new fifth starter, Jack Wenninger, is recommended to take the fifth spot, leveraging his strong performance in the minors to establish himself as a mid-rotation option. Sean Mania is suggested for bullpen mop-up duty, while David Peterson's future remains uncertain, suggesting a potential trade or outright assignment to the bullpen. The ultimate recommendation is a shift towards a young, exciting core. The suggested rotation features Nolan McLean, Freddie Peralta, Clay Holmes, Christian Scott, and Jack Wenninger. The lineup should maximize the usage of Benge, Ewing, Clifford, and potentially Jacob Reamer and Nick Morabito. If the team fails to improve by the trade deadline, the report advises trading Peralta and Holmes to acquire younger pitching talent, aiming for a lineup featuring Jonah Tong and another young arm like Zach Thornton or Jonathan Santucci. The overarching message is that the Mets must prioritize youth and excitement to generate fan interest and secure a hopeful future for the franchise. The New York Mets are facing a roster evaluation, prompting speculation about potential changes to the team's lineup. Following a segment on SNY, the question was posed: if you were David Stearns, how would you improve the roster? Several players were highlighted in this discussion, including Chelsea Janes, A.J. Ewing, Nick Morabito, Sean Mania, Kodai Senga, and Jorge Polanco. These names represent a snapshot of the current discussion surrounding the Mets' personnel and future direction. Analysts and fans are keenly watching these players to determine if they represent the necessary upgrades to bolster the team's competitive standing. The New York Mets are reassessing the future of star infielder Bo Bichette following a challenging start to the season. The team signed Bichette to a lucrative 3-year, $126 million contract, which includes opt-outs after the first and second years. Despite the high average annual value, Bichette's performance has been underwhelming, currently hitting .222 with 2 home runs and 16 RBIs. MLB insider Bob Nightingale suggests that Bichette is likely to opt out and seek a new opportunity, though he sees potential for the Mets to trade him. Nightingale noted Bichette's struggling start, contrasting it with his impressive resume, and questioned the viability of him staying given the team's current struggles and fan dissatisfaction. He proposed trading Bichette to allow the Mets to pursue a draft pick. However, the Mets management is not entirely convinced of an immediate move. They are considering retaining Bichette for the remainder of the season, hoping to secure a long-term deal in free agency. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza has expressed confidence in Bichette, stating he is not worried about the slow start. Mendoza pointed to moments of success, noting that Bichette consistently hits well when he gets at bats. Mendoza emphasized that Bichette needs to maintain focus on controllable aspects of his game, such as pitch selection and swing mechanics, to turn things around. The Mets are currently struggling, sitting at a 15-25 record and trailing in the NL East. While the team experienced a successful road trip, a recent loss highlighted offensive shortcomings. Mendoza stressed that the offense must improve to support the pitching, which is continuing to provide opportunities. The team is focused on improving offensively to elevate their standing. The pressure mounts on David Stearns, the president of baseball operations for the New York Mets, as the team's early season struggles intensify, leading to growing calls for his dismissal. With the Mets currently sitting at a poor 15-25 record in the National League and trailing the NL East lead by 12.5 games, the sentiment among some observers is that the off-season moves have failed to yield results. The team has seen significant offensive setbacks following the departures of key players like Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo. Key replacements have not managed to fill the void, with performances from players such as Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, and Marcus Semien showing struggles. Furthermore, injuries continue to plague the roster, affecting players like Luis Robert Jr., and impacting overall team depth. Analysts point to significant deficiencies across the board. The offense is cited as one of the worst in baseball. The starting rotation offers limited viable options, and the bullpen is deemed unreliable. This situation is particularly striking given the Mets' substantial $370 million payroll, which ranks second only to the Dodgers in the majors. However, supporters argue that Stearns' tenure is not over. They highlight his success in transforming the Mets farm system, which MLB Pipeline rated as the 7th best in the majors entering the 2026 season, showcasing a deep pool of pitching talent. Key prospects like Carson Benge, Ryan Clifford, and A.J. Ewing are showing promise. Financial considerations also play a role. The value of guaranteed contracts on the roster is projected to decrease significantly next year, suggesting a measured approach to spending. Ultimately, the assessment of Stearns' performance will likely be deferred to future seasons, focusing on the sustainability of the pipeline he has built. If a steady development path emerges, Stearns may be absolved of this year's challenges.